welcome back to my sister's kitchen. And today, as you can see, I'm going to make homemade chocolate donuts. Now, I have never done this. This was a Christmas present from my Secret Santa. And so I figured today would be a good day to let you learn along with me doing something I've never done before. So yeah, let's get to it. So starting off, I preheated my oven to 350. In this bowl, I combined my flour, my baking powder, my cocoa powder, my salt into this bowl, and I stirred it up. In this mixing glass, I combined my milk and my vanilla. And in this bowl, I have sugar. So I'm going to add this stuff together and we will be making donuts. Let's get to it. So first, I'm gonna spray my donut molds. Even though it says they shouldn't be non-stick, or they should be non-stick, if a recipe says spray it, I'm spraying it. So that's out of the way. So now I'll take my egg. I'm going to put it aside. Take my bowl of just regular granulated sugar. Take my egg. Plop it right in. And you whisk. As you can see, that has turned a nice, lovely color. I'm going to add my milk of choice, which I use 2%, and your vanilla. Then you whisk till mix. And now I have a nice frothy egg sugar mixture. No, it's almost like French toast. Almost. Well, how about that? You guys have now changed direction. So now that we have our lovely wet liquids, yes, sugar is considered a wet liquid, we take our dry ingredients. And a recipe says to add the wet ingredients into the dry and stir to combine, but don't overmix. So we'll just pour this in. Now, to prevent overmixing and to make sure everything's combined, I'm switching to a spatula. Just making sure I go around the bowl. You can see it's starting to come together. You might be asking, why does this look so dark? It's because I'm using what they call black cocoa. And the reason I'm using black cocoa is because black cocoa is one of those ingredients that is used in Oreo cookies. What a fun flavor to add to donuts. Now that that's combined, and we don't want to overmix, I'm going to take my 1/4 cup. I do not have mini chocolate chips, but I'm going to use a 1/4 cup of regular chocolate chips and just pour them in. And it says that we need to fold in. Now there's a couple different methods of folding. Some people like to chop and fold. Some people like to go around and fold. Some people just like to fold, just go back and forth until all the ingredients are folded. Me, I like to use a few of those methods. I like to go around the bowl. I also like to cut through the middle to make sure everything gets well combined. Now I'm just going to scrape down the sides of the bowl to make sure all that's in there. And the next thing this recipe says to do is to put your batter into a bag and put it inside the molds. So let's do that. So I got my Ziploc bag. Just gonna open this up. And usually I'm used to pouring into a cup in the bag. Before I fail, I'm going to grab my spatula on the side and just pour it in. And then I can just take my spatula, scrape all that chocolatey goo. And squeeze the air out of the bag so it's easier to get all that stuff out. Yeah, it's a mess. Before my camera rudely cut me off, so I brought the molds over and I cut the tip of a Ziploc bag and I filled the molds mostly full. As you can see, those are mostly full. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and even out the donut cups and I will put them in the oven. Well, hi there. Did you miss me? So I'm going to pop the oven open and I'm going to pull this out. Those, I almost said banana molds, donut molds are very floppy. So I want to make sure I have the best opportunity of putting them in here. I'm going to load the left side and then the right side. And da-da-da. Ta-da! Ah, don't do that. Like I said, they're very, very floppy. Some people like to put these on cookie sheets to kind of help prevent this from happening. But sometimes that can cause your molds to... Sorry, my oven's yelling at me. Sometimes when you put a cookie tray under there, unless it's been preheated with the oven, chances are it's going to skew your cooking times because that cookie sheet is going to be cold when you put that on there. So you're not only heating up your cakes, but you're heating up the cookie sheet as well. Just keep that in mind. And I almost forgot, the cook time says to cook for 8 to 10 minutes. What I like to do is put it in there for 8 because you can always add extra time, but you can't unburn it. There's a famous song on PBS Kids called You Can't Untoast the Toast. Listen to the marvelous song of the donuts. Okay, so I'm gonna pull them out. I'm gonna take a look. Looks like they're still rather doughy. You can tell because they're wet. I would spin them around, but I'm afraid I'm going to pop some donut out if I don't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this back in here and I'm going to continue to cook for an additional 2 minutes and we'll check back in on them. Okay, enough. Stop yelling at me. Ooh. These look a little better. Slightly squishy. Ooh. That one's still rather doughy. So again, when you run out of time on your timer, what you want to do is to just slowly put it in there for several increments of minutes at a time. So I'm going to put it in for another 2 minutes. If it's still not done, I'll do another 2 minutes. If it's still not done, I'll probably just start doing increments of a minute until it's done. That way it prevents burning. It's a weird smell because it's brand new silicone and it hasn't been used yet. So it's gonna have a weird silicone smell to it. Ooh. Okay, so those donuts are firm. I promise I won't burn them. I'm gonna turn off the oven. And then I'm gonna grab a cookie sheet. Remember, think smarter, not work harder. Okay, just because these are silicone, does not mean that they won't be hot, so you still want to use an oven mitt for this process, if it'll cooperate. 1, 2. Ta-da! Now, the recipe says to let them cool for a few minutes, but we'll want to pop them out soon. That way they don't sweat and become soggy on the bottom side. So I'm going to set up a cookie rack, and I will set you guys up to watch me pop those out. Ha! Check that out. Now you're on my good side. Okay. I can feel the heat dispersing off this, and this cookie sheet is heating up. So I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to throw a couple of pot holders down. And next, I'm going to take a spoon. I'm going to take a fork and just take these. Carefully just kind of pop them up, put them on the rack. 1, 2, come on, there we go. 10. So this recipe said it would make a dozen chocolate donuts. It probably would if instead of saying mostly full, I would say probably fill them about 2/3 full, and then I think you could fill the additional 2, maybe have them a little more even. If I didn't explain it earlier, I guess I'll explain it now, it's black cocoa that I use. And black cocoa is what gives Oreos that black and unique flavor. So I decided to use that because it was a Christmas present with the donut molds and the donut molds to kind of show that cooking isn't always easy. Cooking is a learning process, a process that you learn from your mistakes and you adapt what you know to what you are going to learn to make. And that is why it's so important to read your recipes ahead of time so you know if there's anything weird, like if you have to let your dough proof for 45 minutes. So just keep those things in mind. But while these are cooling for the next 5-10 minutes, I think I'll make a ganache glaze to go on top. Doesn't that sound good? No, it does to me. Okay, now that everything is cooled down, I'm using my tiny little whisk. And I just like in the whiskey chocolate video, I made some ganache. And I'm going to drizzle it on top. As you can see, I was smart enough to place wax paper below that because I don't like cleaning. And I'm just gonna glaze them right on top of this cookie rack. And whatever falls, falls. Whatever falls off, falls off. It's okay, it's not gonna hurt anything. So I'm gonna take this spoon and just kind of do whatever you want. As Bob Ross would say, this is your canvas, this is your world, you do what you want with it. And technically that works here too, because this is your food, and what you decide and how you decide to do it is up to you. What flavors you want, it's up to you. There's no one here to judge you. Isn't this color so pretty against the black? So I'm gonna leave these drip for a few minutes and kind of set up, and we'll come back and we'll try one out. So I lied, it's only been about a minute, but it is 10 to 1. I'm hungry. So I'm going to try one of these donuts now. Let's set up a little bit. With this chocolate, it doesn't feel right to use a ganache. I think next time I would make a cream cheese drizzle. But other than that, they're actually really good. There's even some chunks of chocolate chip in there. It tastes really good. So to recap, this is the first time I've ever used that silicone donut mold. This is the first time I've ever made this recipe. And overall, it went well. There is a few things I'd change next time. I probably would reduce the amount of batter that goes in the donut mold just to get more out of it and more of a even top, because as you can see, some are bowed. I think next time if I were to use this black cocoa again, I'd want to use a cream cheese frosting on here, or glaze. Both sound really good. But other than that, these turned out really, really well. I'm kind of impressed. Would I make these again? Yeah. Are they better than store-bought? Yes. This was a good treat for a rainy afternoon. I'm sure my kids are gonna love it. My husband's gonna love it. But overall, I think I'd give an 8 out of 10 for what I've done here today. And I'm hoping next time that you stop by the kitchen, I'll have something brand new and exciting cooking. And I hope you learned something today. So go ahead, eat up.